By mid-July 1941, Moscow seemed only a few hard marches away. German tanks had crossed Belarus with astonishing speed. Soviet armies had vanished inside enormous pockets. The road east appeared open. Then, around Smolensk, the advance struck something German planners had not expected. An enemy that continued rebuilding its front faster than it could be destroyed. The Germans would capture the city and surround more Soviet forces. But beyond Smolensk, the road to Moscow would no longer be measured only in distance. It would be measured in fuel, machines, men, and time. Operation Barbarossa had begun on June 22nd. In less than 3 weeks, Army Group Center had torn through the Soviet Western Front. Its commander, Field Marshal Fedor von Bock, controlled the strongest concentration of German mobile forces. Colonel General Hermann Hoth's 3rd Panzer Group advanced north of the main highway, while Colonel General Heinz Guderian's 2nd Panzer Group drove east through Brest and south of Minsk. Their armored columns met beyond the Soviet capital of Belarus, trapping hundreds of thousands of Red Army soldiers. The victory at Minsk convinced many German commanders that organized Soviet resistance was collapsing. Smolensk stood approximately 400 kilometers farther east, guarding the main land route toward Moscow. If Army Group Center captured it quickly, German armor could continue toward the Soviet capital before the Red Army recovered. But the pace of the advance concealed growing problems. Panzer divisions were operating far ahead of their infantry. Vehicles needed repairs. Fuel and ammunition traveled over damaged roads, while Soviet soldiers still fought behind the German spearheads. The Soviet High Command understood what Smolensk represented. Fresh armies were ordered west to build a defensive line along the western Dvina and Dnieper rivers. Marshal Semyon Timoshenko assumed control of the Western Front. His task was not simply to hold a city. He had to reconstruct an entire front after the destruction at Białystok and Minsk. Units arrived separately, often without complete communications, transport, or air support. Some divisions entered combat almost immediately after leaving their trains. On July 10th, the main German offensive toward Smolensk began. Hoth's armor broke through from the Vitebsk area in the north. Guderian crossed the Dnieper near Kopis and Shklov in the south. Soviet commanders expected the rivers to slow the Germans, but the crossings were forced before stable defenses could be established. German tanks pushed into the rear of the Soviet 16th, 19th, and 20th armies, threatening to surround them between Smolensk and the Dnieper. The speed of the penetration created another enormous trap. From the north, Hoth's divisions moved toward Yartsevo, cutting the main road east. From the south, Guderian's forces approached Smolensk and continued toward Yelnya. On July 16th, German troops entered Smolensk. Street fighting broke out among railway yards, stone buildings, and burning supply depots. To German headquarters, the city's capture appeared to confirm that another decisive encirclement was almost complete. But the pocket did not close cleanly. German armored divisions were stretched across a wide front, and the infantry needed to seal the gaps was still marching east. Near the Dnieper crossings, east of Smolensk, Soviet troops held a narrow escape corridor under constant artillery fire and air attack. Through this opening, parts of the surrounded armies withdrew. Equipment was abandoned, formations became mixed, and communications failed, yet thousands of soldiers escaped who would otherwise have been captured. At the same time, the Red Army attacked the outer edges of the German advance. Many of these counterattacks were poorly coordinated and extremely costly. Tank units entered battle without adequate reconnaissance. Infantry attacked before artillery support was ready. Some formations were destroyed before achieving their objectives. But each attack forced German commanders to react. Panzer divisions that were supposed to drive east had to turn, defend their flanks, or wait for infantry support. For the first time since the invasion began, Army Group Center could not maintain uninterrupted momentum. The Germans still controlled the initiative, but their victories required more time. Engines wore out, supply columns struggled to reach the front. Soviet forces repeatedly appeared in areas the Germans believed had already been cleared. The Red Army was losing armies, territory, and enormous quantities of equipment. Yet it had not lost the ability to create new defensive lines. By early August, organized resistance inside the main Smolensk pocket was collapsing. Large numbers of Soviet soldiers were killed or captured, and several armies were shattered. Tactically, Germany had won another major victory. Smolensk was occupied, and the Soviet front had been pushed farther east. Strategically, however, the situation was becoming less certain. The battle had lasted far longer than the rapid encirclements near the frontier. German strength was being consumed, even while the map continued to show progress. The fighting also continued around Yelnya, southeast of Smolensk. German forces had captured the area on July 19th, creating a salient that projected dangerously into Soviet lines. Holding it offered a possible starting point for a future advance, but it exposed German troops to attacks from several directions. Soviet forces repeatedly struck the salient. On August 30th, the reserve front launched a more concentrated offensive. After days of pressure, the Germans withdrew from Yelnya on September 6th. It was a limited Soviet success, but an important one. The Red Army had forced a German retreat. Smolensk now produced a larger strategic argument. Some German commanders wanted Army Group Center to continue directly toward Moscow. Hitler believed the exposed flanks had to be secured first. Soviet forces remained around Leningrad in the north, while powerful armies defended Ukraine in the south. German mobile formations were redirected away from the central route. Most importantly, when Guderian's armor turned south to help encircle Soviet forces around Kiev. This decision produced another massive German victory, but it also delayed the main offensive against Moscow. Operation Typhoon did not begin until the opening days of October. By then, the weeks of dry summer campaigning were almost gone. German formations were weaker, supply lines were longer, and the Soviet command had gained time to assemble additional forces east of Smolensk and strengthen the approaches to the capital. The Battle of Smolensk did not stop the Wehrmacht, and it did not save the Soviet armies trapped west of the city. Germany captured the ground and inflicted devastating losses. But the battle exposed the central weakness in the invasion plan. Destroying one Soviet front did not end Soviet resistance. Another front appeared behind it, and each new victory carried the German army deeper into a country whose distances consumed machines and schedules alike. At Smolensk, the Germans were still advancing. Yet the campaign was no longer moving according to the timetable imagined before June 22nd. The Soviet Union had traded territory, soldiers, and equipment for something it desperately needed: time. and on the road to Moscow, time would soon become more valuable than every mile the Germans had conquered.